The Care Bears movie may look lightweight and childlike on the surface, but through the lens of A Course in Miracles, it becomes a surprisingly clear symbolic story about projection, lovelessness, emotional disconnection, and the restorative power of joined minds. The villain in the film is not just evil in the classic sense. The real danger is the spread of hopelessness, isolation, resentment, and emotional numbness. That is very ACIM. The Course teaches that fear and guilt distort perception until love becomes obscured. People then begin acting from defended separation, distrust, attack, manipulation, emotional withdrawal, specialness, despair. The lonely magician's assistant, Nicholas, is especially important symbolically. He begins vulnerable, longing to belong, but gradually becomes seduced by grievance, resentment, and the desire for power. ACIM would say the ego recruits through woundedness. You were overlooked. You were unloved. You deserve control. You must protect yourself. Fear masquerades as empowerment. Then there are the Care Bears themselves. From an ACIM perspective, they almost function like symbols of healed qualities of mind. Tender heart bear, unconditional care. Cheer bear, joy. Friend bear, joining. Grumpy bear, honesty, moving toward healing rather than repression. Bedtime bear, rest and trust. They are not powerful because of force. They are powerful because they extend coherence and love together. That's where the Care Bear stare becomes spiritually fascinating. The Care Bear stare is basically a visualized miracle impulse. The bears join together, align intentionally, and radiate loving energy directly toward fear, hatred, or distortion. ACIM describes miracles similarly, a joining of minds that dissolves illusion rather than attacking it. Notice they do not usually win through violence. They extend light. That is extremely ACIM. The ego says, destroy darkness. The miracle says, bring light, and darkness cannot remain what it seemed to be. The stare itself symbolizes unified extension. One isolated bear is limited. Together, their joined intention amplifies healing. ACIM constantly emphasizes that separation weakens while joining heals. Miracles occur through shared purpose, not isolated specialness. There's also an innocence theme throughout the movie. Children in the film remain closer to openness, imagination, and trust, while many adults appear disconnected, cynical, or emotionally compromised. ACIM often points toward childlike openness, not childishness, but receptivity unhardened by defensive identity structures. The cloud-filled Care-a-Lot world symbolizes something like the happy dream, a realm organized around sharing, caring, playfulness, and emotional transparency instead of competition and scarcity. Of course, ACIM would caution against making this literal escapism. The goal is not floating away into a magical cloud realm while avoiding human difficulty. Rather, Care-a-Lot symbolizes a healed state of mind. There's also an important ACIM insight in how the film treats emotional wounds. Characters become vulnerable to darkness when they believe. They are alone, unloved, excluded, fundamentally separate. The ego thrives on isolation. Healing begins when connection is restored. The movie's simplicity is actually part of its symbolic power. Like many children's stories, it reduces complex psychological and spiritual dynamics into archetypal imagery. Love versus fear, joining versus isolation, hope versus despair. The Care Bear stare especially parallels ACIM's idea that healing is not merely personal. A miracle-minded perception radiates outward. When one mind chooses love instead of fear, it affects the whole field of relationship. And honestly, the Care Bear stare is almost hilariously close to ACIM visualization, a group of beings overlooking differences, joining in shared purpose, and extending unified light that dissolves the seeming power of darkness. Very different aesthetics, very similar metaphysics.